time passes and the sun rises and the roosters crow. The troop awakens first. You will notice this pilot as you are outside. The troop just kind of posted up in the center of town. They posted up. They kind of circled the wagons a little bit, the caravan, and they all slept in their caravan. And you notice the ruckus start happening. There's an elderly matronly woman who begins to cook something in a large pot. Some eggs and some cast iron, a little bit of protein that's like old sausage, so it's kind of questionable, but it's like dried. So it starts to like become active. You notice you hear coming from the chimneys, the larger chimney start to hear clanking of pots and pans coming up the chimney early on. And smoke starts to come out of that. The individual chimneys, the fires have died. You notice that there's no smoke coming out of them at all. But you do hear noises coming from each of them as the inhabitants of the inns are starting to awaken. And as the morning starts, I assume Alfonz and Ilikhal, you're going to go have your breakfast?
Yes, I wake up a little late, but when I wake up, I go down for my breakfast.
Absolutely. Alfonz, are you an early riser, or were you kind of crashed too?
Hard crash.
Both of you waking up a little past mid-morning. Still early enough for breakfast. Maybe like just before mid-morning then would be a good way of putting it. It appears that most of the other people have gotten up to go on about their day. You start to consume breakfast. Pilot, I'm going to assume until the day has started appearing for the townspeople, you're going to kind of hang out and just observe?
Yes, please.
Okay. You two, the other two of you, both kind of wake up appropriate about the same time. Ilikhal, as you leave your room, the room across from you opens, and they're like it's kind of weird because it's just like it's not every day you open your door and the door across the hall opens at the same time, and there's just this kind of like fanciful male, potentially half elven. He's a little too pretty to be human, the ears are a little too pointy. Maybe he's a half elf. Alfonz, at the same time, you see the same thing. You open the door and like Goliath like stooping through the door with a little bit on his side, trying to enter, or trying to enter the hallway. And you kind of have that moment of like, who gets to go in the hallway first? Like, it's not quite big enough for both of you to walk into the hallway.
I pause, like awkwardly ducked under the doorway and gesture for him to walk.
You give him the like little halfway. Oh no, please, Alfonz, do you?
And Alfonz does the exact same thing, just gestures. No, you first. The old-fashioned stalemate.
Just keep gesturing.
Me too.
We're locked in a battle of wills.
I realize that I've forgotten my hat, and I hastily close the door to grab my hat off the mantle.
Close your door.
forcing Ilikhal to go first.
Okay, so I straighten up, close the door behind me, and head downstairs.
Close the door behind you. Head downstairs, you key in hand, ready to turn it in. With your belongings and things. You go downstairs. It is approaching mid-morning. You set your key on the bar top. Kosh appears to be in the back. Krista comes up and she's like, "Oh, hello, good morning." And she takes her key and she goes, "How did you sleep? Was the bed big enough?" And she goes, like, no. She shakes her head like it was just like that was the last thing she was trying not to say that.
I slept well, thank you.
She goes, "Oh, wonderful. Breakfast? Yes, absolutely. We will get you that." She doesn't even like wait for your answer. She ducks into the kitchen and you hear like her talking, like talking to Coach. She's like, "Oh, he's awake."
I'm just standing there dumbstruck.
And she like almost immediately comes out, like the plate was already ready, like she was waiting on you. And it's 2 large rashers of bacon, 2 eggs, and a little piece of toast, a single piece of toast, like a decent sized loaf of bread, though much fresher, or perhaps toasted bread from yesterday's bread, like they haven't gotten the fresh bread today.
Thank you, ma'am.
And she sets it down. She goes, "Oh, I hope you enjoy it." She goes, "It's Kosh's specialty. He really likes bacon."
Who
I don't know why I told you that. And she goes, "Enjoy it. Oh, can I get you something? Can I get you a beverage, water, something, anything. Yes.
Would you happen to have fresh orange juice or?
Orange juice. Mmm. It is a little too late in winter. We do have
It's
some
spring.
preserved apples though that would make nice like an apple juice ish beverage.
Just water will be fine, thank you.
Water. Okay. And she like runs back and she like goes into the back and there's like a tap inside the house and she fills a tankard full of like water and it is fairly cold. It is unimportant where the water comes from. You don't question it. It's cold. It's refreshing. It's nice. No ice. And then momentarily after you settle down, do you sit in a booth? Do you sit at the bar?
Sit at the bar.
Table. Sit at a bar. The strange half elven male comes down wearing a hat, and he approaches and Krista like has come out and she served you. And as she's walking back, she's like, "Oh, both of you have approached at the same time. Wonderful, sir. Can I get you breakfast?"
Please.
Wonderful. And she like walks back and like immediately and she's like, "Where would you like to sit?" And it's like in and out, like kitchen in and out. Like the plate was ready, the plates were ready. Like they knew you were the last two to wake, and it was like they were there. Just, "Where would you like to sit?" And like she has like the plate like in both hands and she's just like ready to serve. And like it's into morning now, but she is definitely, she's not she's not a nighttime person. She is an all-time person. She is happy to be conscious all the time.
I'll help myself to the bar, and I select like three seats down from Ilikhal, and I remove my hat and just kind of mouth to him, just left my hat, just kind of place it on the bar and just sit down and help myself to the meal.
Yeah, you do that. It's you sit down. It's delicious. The bacon is like perfectly cooked. The eggs, they're fine. They're eggs. They're about as good. They taste like they were cooked in like the bacon grease. So like, hey, cool, double bacon. The bread, wonderfully toasted, nice little crunch. It's a good breakfast. What do you order a drink or would you like glass of water? She offers you the same like this like it's not apple cider. It's not fermented. It would be like non-alcoholic. It's like spiced apple beverage. It's not quite apple juice.
I think he would have just ordered a tea.
Oh, a tea. Yes, absolutely. I could do that. And she darts back in there. Like you hear like a kettle get put on the fire and you hear the piping of the kettle. But she like comes out and there's like it's a loose leaf black tea. It's what they have. And she sets it down. She goes, "Oh, hope you enjoy." And she scurries around. She starts like doing like minor cleaning. Like she's cleaning up after others have finished breakfast. She's wiping down tables, doing everything. And as you get your morning started, as you all finish breakfast, you start to hear the performances start to begin again from the troop outside. Pilot, as they're waking up and getting their breakfast, you note that the town has come to life, and things have begun happening. People are waking up. People are leaving their houses. Someone is like walking their dog. The Rangers Rest became active in a group of 3 individuals armed with short swords and bows. Left town pretty early in the morning, like right around dawn. And the general store beneath you do notice that they do open, like as the day begins. Everything appears to be starting up, and normal daily activities are progressing.
I sneakily get off the roof.
I'm going to say just your basic stealthy ability is capable enough to do that.
I check around the general store.
It appears, if you peek in the window, there's a gentleman. He's like arranging, like he's like replacing some things on some shelves, like restocking a little bit. The feminine individual that you saw in the window last night is nowhere to be seen, but it appears they're open. If you would like to enter.
Yes, I do enter.
Okay, door opens. Little bell above the door, ding ding, like pling, like kind of thing. The man like looks over his shoulder. He goes, "Oh, welcome in. What can I do you for good?" He assumes you are masculine. He says, "Good sir."
Do you by chance sell any beeswax?
Beeswax? Let me see. He said, I know I had a, I don't know, it's like a tin, but it's not tin. I had a bit here recently. I got it from the meat and mead. Let me check. And he starts rifling through some drawers that appear to be behind the counter. And he pulls one out and he goes, yes. And he pulls out, he says, we have this larger tin. It's not really a tin. It's like a glass container. This container. And we have this smaller one as well. It looks like the smaller one is about like the size of like, I think, a chapstick, like Carmex or something. And the larger one is like a large thing of like lotion. It is maybe like a saucer around, and maybe like a 2 ounce and a 10 ounce or something. And he says, this one right here, he sets a small one up, and he's like, this one, it's probably good for, like door hinges or, like whatever equipment you might have that gets a little sticky. I bet this would last, I don't know, maybe like 4 applications. He said, but this one definitely would last much longer. Maybe like 20.
How much for the bigger tin?
He says, well, it is my last one. But also, it was my only one. Nobody bought it. Maybe, 8 silver pieces.
I rummage through my pockets and
Oh.
I take out the silvers.
Okay. Yeah, he takes the money and he gives you the large thing of beeswax.
Thank you.
You're welcome. He says, it's not often we get travelers in this early. He said, you must have been traveling all night.
I like to think myself as an early bird.
He goes, my wife is the same way. He goes, well, you have a good day. He said, enjoy the performances today. He said, the real work for spring starts very soon.
You've got quite a nice view from here too, huh?
He says, yeah, I can see out the window. Unfortunately, although it is a holiday for most, that means most want to be here. So no days off when you work hard, as I like to say.
Well, you take it easy on yourself, sir.
So you too. So have a wonderful day.
You as well. And I quickly leave.
Great. As you're leaving, the caravan of the troupe, the performers, they have begun setting up much more today than what was set up last night. It appears this is today is like last night was like that we just got into town. Hey, this is us kind of performances. But today there is going to be a production. The larger wagon that appeared like a little more Spartan and like gear, like they're like a little metallic and stuff. As you step outside, you notice there's a gnomish individual with like thinning white hair begins to like remove a crank, like a large crank from the back of the wagon, and he kind of sticks into part of this wagon, and he like it's about his size almost, and he gives it this big and he gets once and he cranks it again, two, and he gives it big crank again, and the wagon starts to open toward the rear. The back of the wagon opens up, and then it unfolds on either side, right around him. Actually, it's like the wagon like falls over, like the side of the wagon does, or like I say wagon, it is like a big thing, and it starts to unfold, and this whole contraption unfolds out of it. And as he cranks this crank a few times, it starts to unfold, and things are springing up, and things are unfolding, and stuff is starting to move, and it's kinetic, it's gadgety. There's a lot of stuff going on, and as he gets the crank going, it looks like the crank is starting to move easier as he's getting it to a few times, and it's starting to pick up a little bit of momentum, and he's cranking, and it's starting to work, and it eventually turns smoothly, and he lets go, and you notice that there's just a lot happening. There are things spinning and things swooshing back and forth, and little things like popping up and falling down, and all kinds of stuff. And he like says, "All right, it's time to go. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tonks. I am here to offer a challenge to any who come here to me today. Here in the wonderful city of Melt, all of you are incredible people. For the price of 1 copper piece, I offer you the chance to win 5 copper pieces." And he goes into this spiel about how this is his magnum opus. This invention is an obstacle course. It is unfolded, and as he explains it, he says, "Those of you who make it past the whirling dervish and over the vaults of doom, whoever can knock down one of the pillars of powerfulness can win 5 copper pieces." And like a few of the townspeople who've like begun to like gather around are just like, "What?" But you notice like what he's talking about. There's this like spinning contraption, and there's this portion where like you would have to like maybe jump or dodge and duck and dip and dive, and then right at the end there are these like pop up, put down pillars. And it looks like potentially if you hit them with, there are a few, they're not quite like sandbags. They're like little rubber balls that look like they've got some heft to them. And it looks like if you could make it through those obstacles, you could grab a sandbag and chuck it at one of those pillars, and maybe it would be able to knock over backwards. So in fact, you see these 2 young gentlemen, maybe like 15, maybe 16, are both like eager. They're like, "I can totally do that. I got this." And the other one's like, "No, I got this." And it's like, you see them like kind of like face off on rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to go first. And they rush up to Tonks, and they each put down, and he goes, "Oh, welcome, gentlemen. All right, who's going first?" And one of the young men who appeared to have won this Boulder Parchment Cheers match decides to go first. And he steps up, and he's watching this contraption spin. And he darts into the middle of it, and one of this like spinning contraption with they almost look like sandbags on the end. He ducks one, and he steps back another, and he's not looking, and he goes to turn, and one just catches him right in the chest and throws him right off the course, off of the machine. And he lands like on his butt, just woof, like has thrown him almost. And Tonks like over to the side goes, what a nice try! What a nice try! Unfortunately, you did not succeed. Feel free to try again. But first, you, my young sir." And the second gentleman who had put down a copper piece is like laughing his butt off. And he's like, "Ha ha ha ha. And you thought you were going to do good." And he steps up, and he appears to have learned from the first one. And he steps up, and he looks at the whirling sandbags, and he like approaches, and he steps in, and he dodges to the side and there's one coming right for his chest, but he turns completely, and it just passes right by, and he makes it through the sandbags. And he's approached this space where like it looks like you gotta have really sure footing, but you also have to be kind of athletic, and you have to potentially like hop. It looks like it's gonna like roll. You're gonna roll off either side if you're not too careful. And he steps out onto it, and he steps and he steps and he steps, and he slips a little bit, and he jumps, and he just tumbles at the last second, and he just barely succeeds, and he makes it across. And now he's at this spot where there are these like rubber balls. He picks one up, and it's like, it looks like he picks up, and he's like, "Oh, a little more heft than I expected." and he's watching the plungers like pop, 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 and he appears to take aim, and he chucks the rubber ball, and it just goes wide, and it completely misses all of them. And as it misses, the platform that he's standing on just plunks, and it dumps him, and he falls straight into like a padded area just beneath the platform. And Tonks goes, "Oh, young sir, such a good try. Unfortunately, you failed to defeat the pillars of powerfulness. Feel free to try again if you would like, though." And both gentlemen look a little like dejected. Like maybe they shouldn't spend a lot more, but they look like they're gonna like. They might come back. They might come back. Who knows? And everything's picking up. As everything is picking up, also as well, Alfonz and Ilikhal, you both eventually exit the meet and notice as everything is starting to pick up. It does look like today is a day off of work. Ilikhal, you are familiar with the Northern Reaches and their holidays a little bit. Your tribe traded often with the people of the Reach, or people of the Reaches. You know, First Thaw is a holiday similar to what we celebrate in our world as Groundhog Day. It is not quite spring. In fact, the beginning of spring is about officially about 2 weeks away. Although in the ton of melt, it feels like the first day of spring. Very much so. You know, at First Thaw, there's this like mythos of the trade between winter and summer into this transition of spring, of what we call spring. And the people of the Reach celebrate. There's this, you roast a lamb, and there's this like wishbone-y activity of you break the bone, and if it breaks this way, that means that spring is going to start almost immediately, and if the bone breaks this way, then that means winter is going to hang on just a little while longer. Ultimately, it is much like Groundhog Day. Like, does that really matter? Who knows? But this is kind of the celebration that occurs, and it is often seen as one of the last holidays before work for spring begins. Often, First Thaw is the like last chance to like celebrate that it's winter and things are kind of moving slow, because the second that spring starts, that means the work begins. That means we have to start the work on the farm. That means we have to start the work in the orchards. We have to start actively working to mine timber. That means the rivers that are frozen are going to melt, and trade will begin again, and all of that. So First Thaw is that last celebration of, hey, we don't have to do the big work right now. But also it's kind of this like celebration of, man, we've made it most of the way through winter. We can do this all out, this last little bit of like toughness right at the end as well. Alfonz and Ilikhal, what would you two like to do as this festival of sorts is getting started?
I'd like to talk to Dart if I can.
Absolutely. As you approach the caravan, Dart appears to be directing some things. He's getting people all situated. Sean is starting like he's doing like some sort of like self makeup. He's doing like, it's like a clown kind of look. Amelia, who you know as the acrobat, she's kind of getting ready. She's like choosing her outfit of the day. Like she's like, red or blue or green, red or blue or green, blue or green, not red, definitely not red, definitely not red, blue or green. Roland, who is the like muscly, strongman-y type character, he's pretty strong. He is definitely more of a showman though, than your legitimate use of physical strength. Appears to be just doing like some like limbering up in the morning. He looks like he's got a little bit of a crick in his neck, and he's trying to like get that like worked out. But you also notice like exactly where he's like trying to warm up is like Amelia is always in view. You've noticed in your travels with them, like he's crushing real hard, and he has been for a long time apparently, but he's just like too like reserved to like say anything about it. Grand Kendra is absolutely like making some sort of breakfast. It's like a oatmeal or porridge, and you've seen that Tonks has started this contraption that he has invented. Also, Susie, Dart's wife, is over there with him. She is kind of just like she's also a musician. She has a small half harp, and she started just kind of like a little like morningy music, like your morning coffee house kind of thing. Like it's time to get going. And she's a little bit more of a morning person than most would expect from performers who are up late into the night. Dart is doing his directing. As you approach, he goes, "Ah, oh, Ilikhal, hello, good morning, good morrow. How are you, sir?"
Good morning. I am doing wonderful. How are you?
Well, it's going to be a busy day, that's for sure. And he goes, especially if Faust is not out of bed yet. And you hear from his specific wagon, you hear, "I'm awake, da! I'm just getting dressed."
Anything I could help out with? Any jobs I could do for you?
He said, "Well, and since you asked, we do need help setting up the curtain." He said, "You happen to be just tall enough to hang it without us needing any equipment. You make that much easier, and having you with us these past couple weeks has really helped." You know, as the like stage is getting set up, there are two like posts where a curtain is like drawn across for like a theater play, and it is like for you, just like reaching up onto a shelf, like an up shelf. But for like a person, they've got ladders and step ladders and stuff, but you can just like you can just put up. Other than that, just making sure no trouble. Like I don't think Melt is the kind of town where somebody is going to try and sneak into our wagons while we're not looking, but it is nice to have another pair of eyes out here, especially with us directing and setting up and getting everything ready.
Of course, my friend. I would like to ask, where will you be going after Melt? Where will your troop be going?
After Melt, where shall we head next? I actually hadn't planned that far ahead. Don't tell Susie. But perhaps we might be heading east to Summer's Hearth and then down to Storm's Fall, because it's been a while since we've been to the city, and by then spring will be fully going, and most of these smaller towns, honestly, they'll be working too much to have extra coin. And it won't be until harvest time that we'll be able to make the routes again. I said, and honestly, Susie would like to go a little further south, but I don't know if we'll be able to make it through the storm range this year, or around the storm range at least.
Of course. Well, as long as you will pay me, I will accompany you. I will work as a guard.
Well, we appreciate it. And he kind of directs you as to what you can assist with. And you begin assisting. It is, for you, it is like light labor. For a human, it would be moderate to heavy labor, but your height really just pays off in this case. Alfonz, as you walk outside, you follow shortly after Ilikhal. I assume there's nothing really going on in the inn. The activity has begun happening outside. You do notice, you step out just as the second younger gentleman gets kind of like dunked off of the contraption and kind of hits. They look like padded, they look like pillows, but maybe filled with like not goose down, like it's like sandbags or like some sort of contraption to like just kind of cushion your fall a little, not a lot. Still looks pretty uncomfortable. But yeah, as all of that is taking place, you notice that Ilikhal has gone over and he is starting to help hang bits for the performance and set up this. The stage of last night has kind of given way to a larger stage. It looks like it is incorporated into it, but by comparison, there's going to be an event happening. Crowds have started to filter in as it is approaching mid-morning, between mid-morning and midday, and it just looks like there's a lot going on. In fact, you notice as you do not approach the caravan, as you don't have a job, the rangers at the Rangers Rest appear to be coming out, and they're setting up a few archery targets in addition. It looks like there might be an archery contest today in addition to these performances and this whatever is going on with this gnomish individual.
So I think before I leave the meat hall, I'd inquire one last time about any word from the Argent family.
Nothing.
Okay.
Unfortunately not. Krista is the one who is out front. She thinks you're talking about Molly at first, and says, "Oh no, Molly, she never sends word over here about anything." Kind of bitterly, but nothing. No word. No messages for you.
Okay. So yeah, I thank her and head out the door, and I kind of survey everything being set up and kind of looking for maybe like a seer or like fortune teller or something like that, who might be setting up shop during the festivities. Just to kind of collect more information about like what this kind of is, or maybe even like kind of like a town alderman who might just like be able to fill him in on exactly what is going on, because this is completely foreign to him. And he just wants to.
You do see as you step outside, the like commotion that is happening with the group of like the performing troupe and stuff. They're putting stuff together. They're not like completely set up for everything that day. You do see what appears to be like maybe like a fortune teller's stand starting to go up, but it doesn't look like they're quite there. There's no one there yet. And the Rangers are setting up what appears to be some sort of competition with archery. They're getting ready to do that, and you can see across the square the priest is kind of like standing outside, and he's just like kind of enjoying a cup of tea. Like he's just kind of observing everything, and he appears to be taking it all in, like in almost like a much more understanding way than you are. You're taking it in as all of this information. He's taking it in like, oh yeah, First Thaw, let's go. So this looks great, and he's just kind of enjoying his cup of tea.
Let's maybe check in with him, pop on over and start a discussion.
Yeah, as you cross the square, he notes that you are heading his way, and he says, "Happy Thaw, good morrow. How are you, sir? A stranger that I do not recognize your face. Welcome to Mount."
Happy Thaw. How are you this fine morning?
He says, "I personally, it's the best of the holidays for me. I do enjoy as we approach spring. That means my congregation will start to come back, and we will have more discussion to be had. And of course, it is always fun to watch the festivities take place. This just happens to be the first year I've seen such a thing as what is ever this contraption is that this individual is doing here." And he kind of gestures at like the gnomes thing. He's like, "I have never seen something like that before in any of my travels." And he says, "Of course, as you've not been here," he said, the Rangers Rest always does an archery competition, and should a ranger not win, they put up a large bounty and offer a ranger's contract to anyone who can beat the Rangers in archery. He said, "I suspect soon as well. It looks like they're setting up a fortune teller. There's always a wonderful performance from whatever troupe comes through Melt this time of year. And the Two Queens is actually one of my favorites." And he kind of gives you the rundown. Like you do pick up that First Thaw is this kind of like you pick up on the last holiday before the work year really starts in that he's mentioning that his congregation is going to start coming back out, probably to pray for like better crop yield and things like that, or that they're going to just need that like religious day And as things start to pick up, as crops come in and everything along the lines, that means more alms. That means less of this like dead of winter kind of thing.
Congregation, you say? What? Who do you worship in this temple?
He chuckles and he goes, "Our Lady of Civilization, of course." He's like, he kind of gives you a look and he says, "Arathis, Our Lady."
I just kind of give him a blank stare, like this is the first time I'm ever hearing this name.
Have you never heard of Our Lady Arathis?
Not in my time, no.
How strange. You must be from far away then. He says, "Our Lady of Civilization. She is what gives us these beautiful cities and towns. She fights off the wilderness. She stands for order and justice and goodness."
I'm just kind of giving him like this kind of like smug, like, look. It's like very interesting concept.
She sits beside Pelor.
Pelor, you say?
At his right hand. The god of sun and law and goodness and light.
Yes.
Are you giving him like the okay?
I'm just kind of giving him like the nod,
Yeah.
like
I see. He goes, "Oh, you're a strange." He laughs. Like, you are a strange one, but I am enjoying your company. He said, "Would you like a cup of tea? Please let me offer you a cup of tea."
That would be lovely.
And he kind of like walks you like down the side of the temple back to what appears to be his house, and he pours a second cup and he like hands it to you and he says, "Would you like to watch the festivities set up?" And he said, "I'll tell you the tale of Our Lady blessing civilization from the wilderness." And he does not give you the option to not listen to the sermon.
Mm-hmm.
It is the sermon of the founding of civilization, how Arathis, how these two sister goddesses, Arathis and Melora, kind of butt heads, and Arathis took from Melora part of the world and said, "I'm going to give this to the people, and it will be where humanity, where mortals shall conquer the wilderness." And from that came the first city, and then from the first city, people began to branch out, and every city that succeeds in the wilderness is a blessing of Arathis, and this order is her like holiness, the non-spontaneous order that comes with the march of civilization is the blessing of Arathis.
An interesting concept. No, thank you so much for telling me this story. It's a very, very interesting and entertaining one, I might say.
And he chuckles and he's like, "I see. No, not a new conversion for me today. That is fine. It is the way it is." He says, "But
I might say that though you may have had me if I didn't live the years that I have lived, but I must say, keep up the great work, and the converts will come, let's say."
He chuckles and he takes the cup of like finished or unfinished tea from you, and he says, "It looks like the festivities are about to begin now." And through this sermon that you have sat through, you learned about the Lady of Civilization, and it does appear that the troop has completely set up like for their stuff for the day. That does mean, Ilikhal, you are somewhat free. You have finished up the setting up work. You can continue to do like guard duty if you wish, but mostly there's not much going on. There even appears like somebody's setting up like an octagon like shaped, like it's a small fenced in area, but like it doesn't make sense what they're setting up for. But there's they look like fake weapons they're putting out. They're not like dulled swords. They look like padded weapons they're putting out. You don't really know what's going on with that quite yet. But the rangers have set that up. It appears like the blacksmith is setting up kind of this other kind of thing. and a crowd is actually starting to gather. And people are attempting the gnomes thing, among others. I should actually go to Pilot next. Pilot, what would you? This is crowded. What would you like to do?
Uh, how crowded is the obstacle course right now?
How crowded? I would say he's probably had like a dozen people attempt it, and no one has finished it yet. It kind of looks like everyone is like kind of just looking for someone to finish. Like maybe those 12 people are kind of hanging around, like trying to see if somebody could possibly do it. There are like a couple of groups of like 3 or 4 people who are kind of like chatting amongst each other. It's not like being like actively done or actively watched right now. It just kind of looks like the groups of like locals versus like the strangers that have come into town are everybody's just kind of milling around everything in the square. Like it's kind of this like whole experience kind of thing. And it looks like even as you look at one portion of the square, the Steam and Snowflake is setting up like a booth with like some food and drink and stuff. And the meat and mead is you see Kosh, or you see a male and a female that appear to be a couple starting to set up tables outside, and they've brought like a cask outside, and they have some like smaller cups and things, and they look like they're going to start doing business outside as well.
I would actually like to give the obstacle a try.
You approach, and the small gnomish individual who you like heard announce himself as Tonks says, "Ah, welcome, another challenger. Hello."
I silently give them a copper, or give him a copper.
He takes it and he goes, "All right," he said, "for you, I hope the best. As if you can make it through these 3 obstacles, you will win 5 copper pieces." He shouts it like it definitely at everyone else. He's putting the show on to try and get other people to participate. So you step up, and as you step up onto the platform, the first obstacle is there. These spinning sandbags that appear to be kind of like on a carousel of sorts. They're spinning around. I need you to make an acrobatics check.
That's
A 12?
a 12.
As you step forward, you have a sandbag pass right by your face. Whew, just close. Wow, right there. And as you step again, one comes right for your chest, but you happen to see the young man get knocked off earlier, and you're just lithe enough to quickly spin, and you end up putting your back into the spinning thing, and you kind of have to bounce off of it a little bit, and you just barely make it through the whirling dervish.
I'm so excited. Sorry.
And as you approach the next part, you notice you can kind of see better up here. There's like these like they're almost like rotating logs a little bit, and it looks like you have to be very sure-footed, but also fast. And like even if you really wanted to, maybe you could just make it in 2 big bounds and not have to worry about being as sure-footed. I'm going to need you to make an athletics check.
It's a 17.
Okay. You, learning from the second young man who attempted it, he made like a few like quick steps across. You notice that maybe taking just a big bound and only stepping on these like rotating like logs like once is going to keep you way better from getting thrown off. So you make like a big jump, and then you spring off them, and you cross this platform quite easily. And then you take 2 steps up, and there are these rubber balls, and you pick one up, and you feel it. You feel kind of the weight of it, and you hear. Make a perception check.
15.
Okay. You hear, as you step onto that platform, you hear ticking starting. And that ticking, it starts as like tick, tick, tick. And it's starting to pick up speed. Tick, 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 tick. You pick up one of these balls. It's got a little bit of heft to it. And you see these sponges bump, bump, plunk, 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 plunk. Make a ranged attack, a throwing attack.
A 11 on the d20.
Is that including your attack. It is plus your dexterity and plus your. I'm gonna say you do have proficiency in them because I'm assuming you can throw a dagger.
So +3 and +2.
So 16 total.
Yeah.
Okay. You step up and you flick, and it sails true, and you plunk 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 pink, and the peg, the pillar, somewhat large peg. It's almost the size of like a bowling pin if a bowling pin was like thin. Falls over, and it falls backwards. They've been planking up forward, or they've been planking up. I guess they pop up away from you, but you hit it, and then it bends over backwards, and you hear ding 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 ding, and the platform doesn't drop out from under you. And these bells are going off, and you hear Tonks, ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner! And he's just like this, and like people are like, oh yeah, let's go! All right, so finally somebody did it. And right off the side of the platform, it goes plunk, 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 and 4 steps appear, and you can just descend off the platform at your leisure.
Ew. I feel like I call too much attention to myself, and I kind of hug my hood tighter to my face, and I quickly go down.
Congratulations! And he hands you like, not only is it 5 copper pieces, it's like 5 copper pieces like strung together on something. It's kind of fancy. It's like, your prize, good sir, your prize. What is your name?
My name is Ronald.
Ronald! Our first winner of the day! Congratulations! Clap, 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 clap. And he seems like really happy to give you 5 copper pieces. And like, so the crowd, like they were like excited for you at first, and now they're just like, all right. And they just kind of appear to go back to doing whatever for the rest of the day. I'll say Alfonz and Ilikhal, you also hear this happen, and you hear that the gentle person named Ronald has won the obstacle course. It's the first winner of the day.
I'm clapping very hard for Ronald.
Yeah, Ilikhal, you know this is unique. This is definitely a Ponzi scheme. Tonks has shown you this equipment before, and how difficult it is to make it through, and how it is that only about 1 in 10 win. Therefore, he makes about 5 copper pieces off of every 10 people that play. And Alfonz, you do hear the ruckus that occurs as well.
So Alfonz actually approaches and just addresses like, Ronald, you say? Now that is a name that I would not associate with the likes of you. And not a judging term, but just kind of like, something's going on here. Just starting up a conversation with Pilot. Might I buy you a canister of beeswax by any chance?
Ooh.
Who are you?
A friend. Let's just say the likes of you are not as rare where I'm from.
Spicy.
Is there an alley nearby?
Yes, there is. You can you are on the mid right side of the square by the general store and the bakery. You can dip straight north in between the temple and this large house. You can dip straight east into between the baker and the general store. You go between the baker and the fancy house. You could also just kind of dip into the crowd. It is the entire center of the square is now becoming a whole thing as well.
In my sort of guard duties, I'm watching their interaction and like noting Ronald's like uncomfortable body language and keeping an eye out.
Yeah, what you do actually make a perception check.
15.
Yeah, what you notice is as this half-elvish gentle person that you have met in the hallway sort of awkwardly, who now has their hat on outside, is like approaching and speaking to this other like kind of cloaked individual who has just won the obstacle course. You note that the other individual, they stiffen and still to the extent that you can't even tell they're breathing.
I kind of wander over, like hand on the hilt of my sword, just kind of looking casual, and say, "Congratulations, Ronald. Everything all right here?"
Everything is perfectly fine.
I nod at the half elf.
My good sir, good to see you again. Now, Ronald, might we take a minute to chat? Excuse us, please.
I look at Ronald, sort of questioningly.
I try to relax and nod.
You two, if you would like to like go somewhere a little less settled, you can walk over by the meat and mead where they've set up a couple tables. You can have a seat there. Across the to the opposite corner of the square, in front of what appears to be a fur trapper's hut, in between the fur trapper and what you can see on the sign is the sulfur and soil, rare plants and herbs. Appears to be where the Steam and Snowflake has set up some sort of dining area as well. It looks like they're not serving. They're serving like kind of like posh things. Like there's some like really like fancy looking baked goods over there, where the meat and meat is kind of serving like the equivalent of like a whole turkey leg and mead, where the Steam and Snowflake is doing like fancy baked goods and like finger foods and things like that. Both of which are a little less active because it seems like everybody is like, it's not quite lunchtime. So like anybody that's over there is having kind of like an early lunch or just really wants to get in to get the good stuff before anybody else gets it.
Now, Ronald, knowing what I know, I'm comfortable chatting here, but to your discretion.
I walk to the closest alley.
Okay, the closest alley would probably, the place that's going to offer you the most privacy is just north of the baker. It's actually like heading out of like the central square a little bit. It's out of the baker, out past the northeast corner of the square where the baker and this larger house are located, and that will offer you a little bit of privacy. It appears like as you look by, it appears like there's where a hot spring kind of comes up, but it's not very deep. It can barely be considered like a pond, more like a very extra large puddle of hot spring. Wouldn't offer much in terms of like a place to bathe. It's more like it's almost decorative. That it doesn't look like there's anybody milling about in that area.
I don't say anything and I start walking towards that little foot puddle.
Okay.
Alfonz follows, but like shoots like a cursory glance back at Ilikhal as they walk away.
Ilikhal, you see them kind of walk away. The Ronald individual kind of appeared to be fine with that. Looks like they're gonna go have like a private chat. It doesn't look anything like overly sketchy.
Yeah, I go back to lean against the building at the tavern.
Okay. You continue observing. It doesn't look like any trouble's happening. It looks like the two young gentlemen who were with old Kurt last night appear to be having a little bit of a spat over who actually did better at the obstacle course. There are a couple like younger women around as well. So potentially, it's the general courting behaviors of the human male appear to be happening. A little bit of boastfulness, a little bit of bitterness and spite as well. Then we will pan to Pilot and Alfonz. You two have reached a semi-private place, just like out of sight, out of mind, sort of everyone that is doing everything within the square. You do hear a voice you have not heard yet from across the square go, "The archery contest will begin in 15 minutes." But that you for now you have a moment to yourself.
All right. Now, Ronald, I must commend you on your disguise. However, to my very trained eye, it is very hard to disguise a Warforged. From where I come from, and trust me, it is a distant land, and I believe that you are also from a distant land, and I believe that we might have a vested interest. Now, if you'll hear me out, I just want to go home. I don't know what you're up to, but I believe, and from what I saw, through your ability, I believe that you may be an individual who may have a vested interest, and more importantly to me, and I'm to be blunt, more survivability, and you may be able to take me to my goal. And I can promise you a world where your kind don't need to hide behind an old cloak.
Pilot, as a note, Alfonz uses this word Warforged.
Mhm.
That word means nothing to you. As far as you know, Warforged, he's used the words war and forged together. All you know is pilots. Pilots are pilots. This word Warforged is new to you. But other than that, if you would like to do an insight check or anything to see if he appears to be lying or along those lines, feel free. But he
I would
seems
actually
truthful.
like to make an insight check to see if he's kind of like making up a story or anything.
Absolutely, feel free. Make an insight check.
That's a 9.
He appears to be truthful. To the best of your knowledge, he seems like he's got like a little bit of a tick to his eye. Like I mean, looks like he's telling the truth. You don't have any reason to doubt him. It sounds like a crazy story. Other than that, but that is about it.
I look at this maybe crazy man, and I step kind of face to face with Alfonz, and I go, maybe a name is a good start.
My name is Alfonz.
He's 6
And
foot.
yours?
You seem to know what you need to call me.
Now, would you prefer Warforged, or would you prefer your designation? That's up to you.
Warforged means nothing to me.
So what should I call you? Ronald?
I don't say anything to that.
Ronald it is. Now, Ronald, I have traveled this world for more than a rotation, and I have gathered nothing. I'm not from here. I trust you as far as I can throw you. I trust you. You seem very adept, and I'm wondering how I can help you to help me. Do you understand?
I don't say anything, and I nod and I get him to keep talking more.
Now, what I've gathered is that there is a city very far from here. A city that has a king. That king has a court. That court has a mage. And that mage may have some ability to assist me. Now, what I'm presented with is an obstacle. This obstacle, although seeming trivial to the likes of you, is not so trivial to me. It is distance, it is time, it is monsters, and it is my ability to tuck myself into a situation. Now, I'm in an alley with you, Ronald, on a whim. You may be a burglar, you may be a murderer, but I know you to be better. I know your kind. I know what you were made for. But I trust you. Now my mission is to go to Storm's Fall. Would you join me on this mission?
You almost there's a bit of gears turning in Pilot's head.
Storm's Fall is south, Pilot. And you know this. You've heard talk about the king further south. And you do have this desire, question mark, this want, this need, this thought that you're too far north. You're too far north. You might be too far west and east too, but you're definitely too far north. It's too cold. This doesn't make any sense.
All right. I kind of loosen my shoulders. All right. Fine, wizard boy. Let's. I suppose this is what it is.
And a tense partnership, at least, has begun.